This episode is sponsored by Shipyard Shenanigans, and if you like a bit of Billy Connolly, you like a bit of Glasgow humour, that one is probably for you, so go check it out. Hello and welcome back to Film Pro Productivity and Success, the podcast that helps creative people to live a more focused, effective and happy life. My name is Carter Ferguson and this is episode 132, Gatekeepers. Imagination is the gatekeeper of the human soul. Alister E. McGrath, unquote. And so this show is a pre-record from December because I'm neck deep right now, probably, I hope to be, in shooting a new short film, The Traveller, and I'm running a crowdfunder campaign right now for it on Indiegogo. So if you like this show and you like what I'm doing here and you want to support what I'm doing, please do go and check that out. I'll put links in the show notes and it'll be all over social media so you can't miss it. And in last week's show, which I only recorded about, 20 minutes ago. In last week's show, I did a little bit of an unscheduled off-the-cuff episode because I lost all of my notes. But I think it kind of came together not bad, all things considered. And in that one, I looked specifically at working with beta clients. And beta clients, incidentally, are like test clients. If you've got a business idea or you want to get a specific niche of learning, then you maybe want to find someone that's willing to work with you on it, somebody you can learn from, somebody who's you can deliver something to them in exchange from you getting a bit of learning and getting a bit of experience from working on something. So please go back and check that one out if you think it's of interest. If it's that difficult for a rich man to get into heaven, think how terrible it must be for a poor man to get in. He doesn't even have to bribe the gatekeeper. Reverend Ike, unquote. Now, a gatekeeper is anyone who works to allow, refuse, limit, redirect, support, or hinder you from achieving something. Proceeding through life with a state of mind that refuses to acknowledge that these people exist, though, will only lead you to failure somewhere down the line, because gatekeepers are everywhere. Sometimes they're self-appointed, sometimes they're toxic, and sometimes helpful and encouraging. But unless you put on your high-level thinking head and acknowledge that they actually exist, you could waste a lot of time in life. And these people are usually in a position of power relative to you, and they may know people or have the last word when it comes to how you'd like to live your life, for example. And over the years, I've come up against gatekeepers in my filmmaking endeavours specifically, again and again and again. And I'm shooting this short film at the moment, The Traveller, with a crowdfunder to back it, as I long ago gave up on ever being accepted into that sort of Scottish film funding world. I first hit the brick wall with that, which I refer to as a gatekeeper, when I went to Scottish Screen in 2011 after my first feature film had achieved some success in a Cineworld release. And I know I've talked about this one again and again, but this really was a series of gatekeepers that I did feel were keeping me back on a number of levels. And as I say, I've told this story before, but it is relevant. The film officer there at Scottish Screen at the time told me that not only were they not interested in anything I was hoping to develop, but that they will never, then or in future, allow me to access any of their funding. That is a gatekeeper. That is a film officer that was specifically stopping me from moving forward. And these film officers at Scottish Screen had one job, and that, I believe, honestly believe, was to put people off from ever applying for funding. Because if people didn't apply, they had less people to refuse. And that, in turn, would look better probably for their figures at the end of the year. And Creative Scotland were never interested either. They became, I think Scottish Screen became something else, became Creative Scotland. Tends to evolve, but actually be more or less the same people doing the same jobs. Creative Scotland, as it became, as I say, is an organisation that once paid a poet £2,000 to go to an island and think. So I know that they would never take an interest in funding anyone who just wanted to develop that sin of all sins here in Scotland, a bit of entertainment. And that was always really just what I wanted to do, was create things that people would enjoy watching. And I had other doors available to me, but it was soul destroying to hear that at the time. You know, you hope that you're going to get recognised by the kind of main bodies and get at least a slight helping hand or a bit of mentoring or something, but it just wasn't there. It was a complete shutdown. But there's gatekeepers who will make you better as well and climb higher than you ever thought you could. But there are others, as I say, who put limitations on you and can stop you from succeeding. That's the two sorts that I've come across along the way. So how do you figure out, though, which is which and what to do about them? If you're trying to change your life and take actions towards a certain goal and you're meeting resistance, now is the time to take stock and figure out if you've met a brick wall that is going nowhere. If you discover your gatekeepers are like unmovable brick walls, then there are going to be some ways that you can approach that situation that can help you. Going head-to-head with gatekeepers, it is difficult, but it's not always impossible. But it does take a bit of legwork and time and effort in developing an awareness of who is out there that could help you. But just moving on from that, putting aside more general gatekeepers as well, like the legal system, the police, security guards, possibly teachers, parents, etc., and drilling down into an industry that you might be working in or the world you would like to engage with, will help you to identify them. Don't be distracted by white noise. There's some things you simply will not be able to avoid. So you maybe want to ask yourself, who are the gatekeepers in my life and my career? Are they supportive of me and my aspirations? Do they do nothing to help me, or do they actively hinder you? These are questions worth considering and thinking about. And it's important, once you've identified who the gatekeepers in your life are, and generally how your interactions with them are influencing you, that you become more intentional about how you interact with these people. Becoming more intentional is about your gatekeepers knowing what you need from them or you want from them, and this implies that you know what you need from them in the first instance. So what do you want, and how can these gatekeepers help you to get there? What can they do to assist you? If you know what that is, it's going to be easier to find. Do they know what they can do for you? And if not, then how can you make them aware of what you need from them? If they know what you want and how to help you, then the question becomes, are they doing what you need them to do? Once you've identified the gatekeepers and figured out if they know what you want from them, the next step is then maybe determining whether you have made it clear what you want from them, or if you've even reached them in the first instance. And here we have to assume that you have done your best to let these gatekeepers know what you need from them on several occasions over a period of time. So if you've put in the effort and you've got nowhere, that's when you know you've got a problem. And you need to have done that step and be sure that you have been heard as best you can and given that person ample time to take action. Sometimes a person who's a gatekeeper in your life may help you without you even knowing it. You see, there might be something going on behind the scenes. They may put in a good word with their other gatekeepers perhaps to get you an opportunity, or they could be on the lookout for something that will align with their needs as well as yours. But if you do feel like you've been clear and you've given them sufficient time and you aren't seeing anything happening, then you might want to begin to question if your gatekeeper has become what is referred to as a brick wall. And unfortunately, the reality is that the gatekeepers in our lives aren't all going to be about accommodating us or our aspirations and our dreams. And many are completely shut off to that. They just hear it too often. They know people want stuff from them and they shut it down. And there's plenty of reasons why gatekeepers in your life become brick walls and stop you from achieving your dreams. And I've got a wee note of them here. I do work from notes. Can't remember all this stuff. One might be that they've got their own agenda. Quite often that is the case. If they've not got their own agenda, they might have somebody else's agenda. If they're working for a business, their job may be to be the brick wall, to be the person you can't get past. Another thing might be politics, that it's better for them to do nothing or actively work against you than to help you. A gatekeeper might be stopping you from moving forward because perhaps they're in the same industry and they don't want to be overtaken, for example. That is, they feel threatened by you, which would probably be my next kind of point. Another reason they might actively stop you from moving forward is because they themselves are insecure about their own position. And then again, any conflicting interests are going to stop them from helping you as well. If they want the same thing you want, then they're really not going to be going out of their way to help you. Another thing is they just might not be willing to help you. They might not want to help you. They might be a sociopath. They might just be generally disinterested. Another thing would be personality clashes. That some people just don't like you, and that's just the way it is. Another more common perhaps is that they just don't have the time or the energy to deal with what people want. I can certainly say from my point of view, not that I was gatekeeping, but on this short film, The Traveller I'm working on, I put an announcement out to say, look, I'm going to make this short film, and over the next kind of week and a half, I had 46 people message me wanting to help or be involved in it in some way, and I couldn't reply to them all at once. I just couldn't. There was just too many people, and I think I've still a few of them. I had 2, 3, I think, overnight just there. I'm recording this on the 31st of December, and I haven't been able to respond to them all. I am trying, but I just don't have the time or the energy because I've got so many other things to respond to deal with. I can't respond to everything, so bear that in mind as well. Another thing would be that you and your goals aren't even on their radar as something they should be interested in. They might not have any awareness of you or what you're doing or how what you're doing could help them, perhaps, or help somebody they're working for. Another thing on my list here is they don't see anything in it for them. Helping you is just a waste of their time. They don't get anything from it. And then, of course, we can look at things like them being consciously or unconsciously biased against you. And the final thing I've got on my list is they can't see how their action, or inaction, I should add, could be affecting you negatively. They just can't see it. And getting straight down to the bare knuckles, sometimes it isn't possible to get that other person to help you in a way that meets your needs. And it's at this point that you need to decide whether you need that particular person or if there's another gatekeeper somewhere else who could help you, who could let you in or let you past. Your current gatekeeper might be the one who puts limitations on you, who doesn't meet your needs and who isn't on your side. They don't see your potential and or push you towards that end in any way, and they have the power to make you feel worthless as well. So who is someone that does the opposite? Do you know that person yet? Or do you know that person yet, perhaps I should say? Or do you have to go out and find that person? There are, not always, but quite often, there would be another way in. And here's an example of how I continued my dialogue, fruitless though it was, with Scottish Screen after realising that the first film officer I had been talking to maybe wasn't against me, but just was clearly set there to block me. I went to another film officer. There was another film officer, lovely guy, had a different way of handling me, different way of working with me. I didn't approach Scottish Screen as an entity, like, dear Scottish Screen, help me with this thing, because that's pointless. Because all that would happen if you reached out to the larger bodies, they would probably redirect you back to the same officer who shuts you down in the first place. And I knew that. So I researched and went directly to another officer, and without seeking any funding, or I wasn't looking for anything from that person, I started just to create links and build a relationship with him instead. And he was considerably more open to my existence than the previous one. And he did help me and speak to me in a sort of mentoring level a little bit as things went on. I still never got a single penny from them. That's just the way it's just the way it is. But, you know, that was my experience of Gatekeepers with Scottish Screen, as it was then known. Gatekeepers who put limitations on you or block you from getting access to what you need might lead you to feeling bad about yourself and undervaluing who you are and what you bring to the table. That definitely happened to me when Scottish Screen said, "We will never fund you." That affected me, and I've got to be completely honest here, for at least 5 years. It's still affecting me now, and this is, when you're listening to this is kicking on to being 12 years later. It really, really affected me that badly. The value of your own self-worth can decrease if you continually ignore your needs and allow others to do the same. I haven't made a second feature film in over 10 years, as I was so put off by that experience as Scottish Screen, and this was not helped by my interaction with another, I'm going to refer to them as a gatekeeper, but with, and I don't mind mentioning names here because they really did not make my life very pleasant at all, but with BAFTA Scotland, who's, I was interacting at the time, and they absolutely, in my interaction with them, they appeared to hate both me, my film, and my crew, and did not want to help me. And we won and I hope that's not the case anymore. And maybe it wasn't the case. That's just the way it came across to me. They certainly changed a lot of rules to ensure that my people could not be eligible for awards. That happened. I'm not beating around the fucking bush here. That happened several times. Not happy about it. I have had a very bad taste in my mouth with BAFTA Scotland ever since. And just the way it is. I hope to somehow build bridges with them in future. But I did not feel inspired by them. And I think BAFTA have got a thing in their remit about inspiring people, and I was definitely not inspired. Anyway, that's me going off on one, just from bad experiences, though. And we did end up with the Cineworld Award, which was presented to us by BAFTA Scotland, and I think that that possibly annoyed them a lot, but it wasn't our fault we won the fucking award, that the audience voted our film to be their favourite. It wasn't our fault. But I honestly right now feel like they got angry at us for beating the others. What can you do? It's a funny old game. Anyway, I've gone off on a real one there. Back to my notes. So all this is a hard thing to realise, but in life, difficult gatekeepers teach us the value of who we are and the importance of being valued. If you don't feel like you're valued or getting what you need, then it's much, much easier to get discouraged, to lack motivation, and ultimately this kind of negative association isn't healthy. It's very, very damaging to your productivity, and it can change your mindset and make you stressed, anxious, and depressed. It certainly did me, 100%. And none of these states of mind will help you to reach your goals, and they can really hurt your quality of life. So if you've identified a gatekeeper, get back to gatekeepers, sorry, after my tirade. If you've identified a gatekeeper in your life that has become a brick wall, you need to ask yourself if communicating with that person is affecting your health and your well-being. And if it is, then you have to ask yourself if it's worth it. Is what you're doing trying to fight and push up against an immovable object? Are you trying to get past something that will never move? And if they aren't going to be moved and they are resisting your attempts to find a compromise, then what is the point? Is it worth you being miserable over? If it's not, then I would definitely look to other paths to get what you want. If your aspirations, your goals, and your health are being affected by a gatekeeper, and you know what you need from them, that you're never going to get it, then take action and make a change. Find some new gatekeepers, find some new paths, anyone new that will help that will see you for your strengths and your potential, and that can definitely happen. There are usually other ways in. And so just to sum up here, perhaps on another path you will find new gatekeepers who are supportive of you and your aspirations. That's what you need to look for. Find new paths. Try and work around these immovable gatekeepers and find other ways in. Allow for many paths to your goal. Do not fixate on one path, because then you are likely to give up when that path is blocked. Paul Bronson, unquote. On next week's show, hold on, I haven't written it yet, but I've got it on the board. I think I'm going to be doing an episode on bandwidth. Why am I talking about that? It is actually quite important. It's very, very relevant to productivity. But if you want to find out more, you need to listen in and check it out. So let me just end there for just now. Please remember the crowdfunder, folks. I really need you to get behind me for this one. It's really tough shooting films, especially when the gatekeepers have blocked me from receiving any money along the way. Catch all the updates on it via social media as well. I'm actually putting a lot of updates out there that might be of interest to you if you're a filmmaker. I'm just kind of giving a vlog style, this is what I'm dealing with, this is the next thing. And I'm also releasing kind of images of documents and things like that. And that's one of the perks that will be in there. I've not added it yet, is you'll actually be able to download some of the documents and understand the processes a little bit. But let me end today, let me not go in any further, let me end today with some words from Maya Angelou, who said, if you're going down a road and don't like what's in front of you, and look behind you and don't like what you see, get off the road. Create a new path. Now take control of your own destiny. Keep on shooting and join me next time, my friends, on Film Pro Productivity and Success. music that you can hear right now is Adventures by A. Himitsu, and the executive producer for this season is Christopher McPhillips from Artos Digital. You can view the show notes for this episode on the official website, filmproproductivity.com, and you can follow my personal accounts on Twitter and Instagram at fight_director, or follow the show's official account, why not, on Twitter at FilmProProdPod or on Facebook at FilmProProductivity. Please continue to support the show by subscribing, spreading the word, and leaving an awesome review.